Well, there's only 3 rounds remaining in the 2024 Area Truck Series season, and one of them is here at Iowa Speedway in Newton, Iowa. 150 laps, 130 miles in the last short track race of the season. This is also the beginning of round 2 of the playoffs. And after Kansas next week, we eliminate 4 more drivers en route to a Final 4 that will head to Atlanta and contest 120 laps, 180 miles to determine the season champion. Kyle Heyer joined by Connor Horn tonight for an evening here at Iowa Speedway. Last night's Cup Series race was really entertaining. Lots of green flag running. Connor, what do we got tonight?
I don't know if we're going to see as much green flag running because I think these cars are easier to drive, or at least these trucks are easier to drive. I know that sounds crazy, but I think we're going to see a lot more drivers very close to each other, especially on these restarts. They're going to be very, very wild. While I don't think these trucks are going to handle nearly as poorly as the Cup cars down the long run, I think that might invite some chaos. We'll just have to wait and see. There's some drivers below the cut line that would probably welcome chaos, and others really don't want that, so it should be a pretty fun one. This is a track that always provides a lot of action. We saw a last lap pass last season, Jake Matheson stealing the win from David Weishart, leading only that 1 lap. And seeing that playoff cut line, Matheson locked his way into a championship en route to a championship last season. Jake Nichols, Hall, Schaefer, Beckner starting above the cut line. They'll try to do that, but Seth Knoll, Daniel Day, Patrick Moose, Edward Shearer Jr. have a lot of work to do.
Yeah, they do have some work to do. Not a ton, at least early here, but if you position yourself with a win, you don't even have to worry about headed to Kansas next week. And with how tight the cut line is at the moment from Schaefer on back to Daniel Day and really Patrick Moose, you don't really have a lot of room to wiggle. So got to keep that in mind here tonight. Of course, the ticker will have things color-coded to help you remember who is where on the cut line status. But 25 trucks tonight, slightly smaller grid than we're used to, Connor. Is that going to influence things maybe and keep this race maybe a little bit more green flag running?
I think it puts a lot more pressure on those drivers below the cut line, a lot less points to deal with. Usually we're used to maybe 35 trucks, somewhere around there, so you have a lot of points to get. But for someone like Patrick Moose or Edward Shearer Jr., they're 7 to 12 points below the cut line. Puts a lot more pressure on them to have a top 3 day, let alone a top 5 day, because if someone there behind finishes like 10th or 15th, like, that's not even that good in the field because of how small of a field it is. So it's going to be really hard to make up points for those drivers below the cut line. So you might see a lot more aggression from those 4 below the cut line. And speaking of that cut line, Beckner 2 above Seth Knoll. They have a lot of history this season. That could be a focal point as well.
And have a look at the weather. It's a little warmer than it was last night. 76 degrees Fahrenheit in the air, 100 degrees Fahrenheit on the racetrack, a little warmer. Turn 4 seems to be the trouble spot here, and you can see all the tire marks on the pavement as well in that final turn where things have been pretty spicy thus far. Race fans, be sure to subscribe to the Area iRacing Twitch channel. As a subscriber, you'll have Area iRacing emotes to use in the chat and earn double channel points that you can use to redeem for free merchandise for just $5 a month at twitch.tv/Area iRacing. And because we're ending our streaming here of the Area series, you should make sure that you get yourself subscribed to that Twitch channel so you don't miss anything in the next season of Area action. Qualifying underway now. Matthew Batby recently eliminated. He's got nothing to worry about now other than trying to win races.
He does have to worry about having the right number on his truck, but close enough. If you flip it, it's 89 at least. But yeah, he had a really rough go at Michigan 2 weeks ago. He was one of those drivers pretty confident he was going to make it above the cut line if he just had a solid race. He was wrecked out early, and the points did not fall his way. So he's just going to try to get a win out of this season. Jonathan Evans is going to try to get his 3rd win on the season. He only has wins at Daytona and Talladega, trying to get one on one of these smaller tracks. As most drivers, I think, are going to go to that yellow line on this hot lap. You might see that high line come into play for the long run, but I think he's going to go back to the top side just to get that big run off the corner for lap number 2. Case Lakatos, another driver eliminated 2 weeks ago.
Yeah, just trying to go out and do some wins. And Casey has gotten aggressive with strategy at times, which I think makes it pretty fun to watch, because now that he doesn't have the playoffs to worry about, he can kind of go back to those aggressive strategies and see if they play out in his favor. Garrett Grant's on track in the number 5, had a tough night last night. Daniel Day in the 61 on track as well.
Day, a playoff driver, starts 4 below the cut line, so he needs to have a really good run tonight. And he's been another one who's been very consistent. Reminds me of Tom Bourne's season, or whatever season that was. Very consistent this season. 4 top 10s, only 1 top 5. He's probably going to have to add at least 1 or 2 top 5s to that total if he wants to win a championship. And Garrett Grant, speaking about him, and also Brad Slaughter Jr. in the field tonight, both of them becoming the first Area Truck Series drivers to get the triple-digit mark. Start number 100 for those two.
It's cool stuff. Ricky Springer in a very shiny-looking 51 out of turn 4 is going to begin his qualifying effort as Jonathan Evans, Grant Batby take the top 3 spots. Travis Beckner in that 28 truck, as we mentioned. There he is. Enters down here into turn 3, up kind of middle way up the racetrack. We'll see what he's got.
And he will have a drive-through tonight, so that 2-point cushion is going to go away at the very beginning of this race. But he's going to try to put it pole just to get a bonus point, and he puts a provisional pole for the time being at 23.501. And I said everyone would be at the bottom, but most people, I think, are electing for that middle line, going over those bumps, which I don't think helped the Cup car with the way that thing's set up. But I think the trucks go over it a little bit better, and you're seeing him actually go even higher in 3 and 4 to get a better time down. Seems to be a lot of grip in that higher line. Does he go faster? Not quite, but if he can hold on to first position, that's a pretty crucial bonus point.
Yeah, will help out a lot. Jake Nichols and Seth Knoll entering the racetrack right now. Kenny Ware in the 98.
A real 98.
Yes. Also eliminated. That was probably where my confusion stemmed from.
Yes.
Both the 98 and the 89.
And Ware, unfortunately, never really had a chance. He was all right at Michigan, but early wreck at Bristol pretty much put him must win. And then he actually did get wrecked at Michigan as well, so he really had no chance this round. But he's had speed at numerous tracks, but at least in the playoffs, he hasn't been able to show it as he goes 9th on the board, and he did not like that lap, maybe.
No. Seth Knoll, after lap number 1, we'll see where he drops on the board, 24.7. And Jake Nichols goes to the top, 23.451.
Puts himself in line for the bonus point. The rich get richer. We'll see if Knoll can do better on his second lap. I think he sandbagged lap number 1. We'll see how hard he drives into turn number 3. He really sent it to the yellow line, but didn't quite get there, and the rear end did kick out a little bit.
Here comes Knoll out of 4. Slow first lap. It is going to be a quicker second one, 23.531, and goes P5.
Not quite what he needed. Seems like lap 1's the money lap for sure, as even Nichols went 10th slower. Devin Johnson's going to be one of the last drivers to put a time down. He went 22nd out of about 23 drivers to put a time down. He'll try to at least get one more faster lap down. He's been a little bit consistent this season, probably not running where he wants to, as he has no top 10s, but he's had at least a majority of a clean season as he comes across the line. Does not improve. And that should be almost everyone. Chris Seidenfaden just went 21st. That should do it.
And Sogak and Brown did not put down lap times. And qualifying is complete. Jake Nichols, Travis Beckner, your front row. That's a heck of a front row of playoff competitors, isn't it?
Sure is. And we'll see what Beckner can do with that drive-through. He's going to have a lot of work to do, and he'll probably need at least one yellow.
So, talk to me about the strategy of this race. 150 laps. We saw last night the strategy kind of got interrupted by a yellow flag. We'll probably see some more of those tonight, but it is a smaller field. What's our fuel situation looking like if things are perfect? And I imagine we'll see more tire wear than we saw the other night as well.
I think we'll see a decent amount of tire wear, but I'd be shocked to see too many people trying to two-stop. I think there was enough fall-off, and the corner speeds were slow enough in the Cup car to where that two-stop was viable, and you could make up time doing it. I'm not sure if you're going to see that work in the trucks. I think there's going to be fall-off, and you're going to see people struggling, but especially with the yellows, we saw break up both strategies at both times last night. Plus, I think you're just not going to see as much fall off in the times compared to what you need to make a two-stop work. So if you can make it to lap 175, you're going to do it. So I'm not sure if we're going to see too many people do that two-stop.
Before we get to our starting lineup, we'd like to thank Central Mobile Homes, which is our starting grid sponsor. If you're looking for a small or large home, a new shed, or a Triple Crown trailer, look no further than Central Mobile Homes. They've been proudly serving Florida customers for 28 years with a plethora of small and large home floor plans, shed designs, and Triple Crown trailers. Available in LaBelle, Okeechobee, Clewiston, and Sebring. Head to centralmobilehomesinc.com to get started today. Now we wait for the start of this race. Do you ever go out and do these practice laps right before the race after qualifying, or do you like to just hunker down and plan your start?
Oh, I'll put some laps down just to see what I can do, how hard I can run, stuff like that. But you really did all your practicing in the 45 or the 40-minute session. But it never hurts to get at least a few more laps down. You should probably know what you're going to do to save tires even without this session.
And Bowie in the 54. To have him in the field tonight. Bowie Esports Toyota Tundra.
I don't believe he's made a start in a little while, but he's been very fast when he has made his starts. 4 starts this season, 1 top 10, and he ran a whole heck of a lot better than 41st place at Daytona and Charlotte, Texas. He also had good runs at, but only the 1 top 10 to show for it at Pocono. We'll see if he can compete for a victory as Kane gets in the wall entering the corner. He was in this round of 8 position last season, but not this season.
Have a look at the racetrack there, the bump in the center of 1 and 2. You can kind of see where the rubber lightens up and then darkens. That was sort of a topic of discussion. Some of the drivers last night really struggled with 1 and 2. Does it feel across the width of the surface? It feels like it's the worst down on the bottom.
It definitely, I think, gets worse on the bottom the more it rubbers up. It was still very, very sideways at the beginning of the Cup race, and then every time you made a pit stop for new tires, it just got tighter and tighter and tighter down there, but you still wore the rears out more, so you got to make sure you're keeping up with the track and changing your line depending on how it's feeling. I do think 1 and 2 was the worst it felt anywhere else because you kind of have to go down there to avoid the bumps in the middle of 1 and 2, but if it gets too tight down there, you wash up into the bumps at the worst possible time. You could kick the rear of the truck sideways, so you got to really keep up with the track, but there's nothing you can do setup-wise to keep up with it. You can go to a way high line like Jake Nichols is. He did that last night as well, but you just got to make sure you know what the track is doing and know how to run as it transitions.
What about 3 and 4? Because 1 and 2 we saw lines change throughout the night on Monday, but 3 and 4, I think it seems like you have some more choice up here in 3 and 4. What do you think the strategy tonight is? Stay on the bottom for a little while and try to move up with the racetrack when you need some more momentum?
Yeah, I think you'll see more people run up there tonight. I saw Jake Nichols doing it last night. I didn't know how he was doing it with how the rear tires acted. I thought it was impossible, and even he looked like he was struggling with it near the end. But 1 and 2, that way high line, that very top seam, it's too bumpy up there to really make any ground up. It's very smooth on the top of turns number 3 and 4. It allows you to get that big run off the corner. I think that's the best way to make passes. Get a run on someone in turn number 1. You really get a run on them around the top of turns number 3 and 4. Get a run to their bottom in turns 1 and 2. If you could stick to their inside, then you pull the slider in turn number 3. So the way I see it, it takes about a lap to set up and then complete that move to make at least 1 pass here at Iowa. We'll see if anyone does that tonight.
So warm-up almost complete here. 150 laps on tap here this evening. And once we get rolling, this will be the 3rd to last race of the season. We mentioned Kansas is the next elimination round. That is next week. Then Atlanta will be the season finale. And then we wrap up season 6. And then, of course, on Thursday, we've got the Florida State Builders Area Pro Series headed here to Iowa as well. It sounds like we're waiting for one more driver to get back in. Last night, there was a number of internet issues that were plaguing more than just drivers. It was plaguing me as well a little. I'm curious if that same thing is happening potentially to the 89.
He lagged out and he hasn't said anything to anyone, so that's kind of why we're running this out. But drivers like Edward Shearer won't care. They'll be able to get some extra practice time at least. But yeah, servers have been really weird as of late. In the other league I do on Wednesdays, like the last race we did, it was very, very odd. And there was like half the field blinking at one point when most people don't have internet issues. So I don't know what's really going on, but it looks like he has reconnected. So we should get this show on the road in a little bit.
So, again, we like to remind everybody that you should head to the twitch.tv/area iRacing channel and make sure that you're following and subscribed there, because next season we'll not be back, unfortunately, for this championship or the others. So you'll want to make sure that you're on the Twitch side just so you catch whatever vendor replaces SimTV here. I'm got lots going on in life right now. It's all good stuff, but trying to find some more time to come home and worry about cooking myself healthy meals and get out and active and enjoy the city I'm in, and finally in a place where I feel like I can do that. And it's been a really nice couple of months as I work into this transition. But there'll still be some things on SimTV, just a lot less than there was. And we'll be backing it down. There's the checker. And we'll head down to the racetrack for the Central Mobile Homes starting lineup here in just a moment's time. We'll kick things off as we transition into the race session. Jake Nichols, Travis Beckner, those two have had their fair share of issues. They'll share the opening row, first and second place for the 73 and 28.
And the 28 will have a drive-through to serve, so we'll see if he goes 1 or 2 laps down. Third position, Jonathan Evans, 2-time winner this season. Fourth position, maybe the biggest threat to Jake Nichols' season is John Hall.
Seth Knoll rolls off P5 in the number 1. Mason Kane starts 6th in the number 31 machine.
Seventh position, the 89 of Matthew Batby back in the session, and a good Q run for him as well. David Weishart, another start. He's not in the playoffs, but he can really go for a win here. He was 1 lap away from victory last season. He starts 8th.
And 9th place will be Brad Slaughter Jr. in the number 81 Toyota Tundra TRD Pro. Patrick Moose starts 10th in the number 38 playoff competitor with some work to do.
And Slaughter making his 100th start tonight. Edward Scheer Jr. starts in the 11th position. I believe the 11 has the 17 as an EOL, so he'll go to the rear. And another driver making his 100th truck start. Garrett Grant starts 12th.
Yeah, and you're right. The 17 does have that EOL. Daniel Day starts 13th in the number 61. Danny Ware, the 98, rolls off 14th.
15th position, the 21 of Eric Weiland, who's had speed, but not a lot of good finishes this season, not of his doing. Brandon Bowie, his 5th start of the season, will start back in 16th.
17th place, Reese Schaefer in the 07. Bryce Senesac rolls off 18th, the outside of row 9 in the 09.
Schaefer, 8 top 10s, but no top 5s this season. Ricky Springer, always fast, but not a good Q lap. He will start 19th, and Case Lakatos, recently eliminated, will start just inside the top 20.
And starting in 21st place is Chris Seidenfeiten, the number 45. He's got a drive-through, by the way. Joshua Balliette starts 22nd in the number 7.
23rd position goes to a 90 of Devin T. Johnson. He was one of the last drivers, if not the last driver, to put a time down. And the Justin Sogak will start in the 24th position.
And the last driver to start this race will be Jeremy Brown in the number 87. He will roll off in P25. Matthew Batby did make it to the grid, still blinking a little bit. We'll see if he can make it through the night. Take me a prediction, Connor. Who you got winning this race tonight?
I feel like it's hard to bet against the guy on the pole, so I'm not going to bet against the guy on the pole. I will go with Jake Nichols.
Well, I think I'm going to go with the 0-3 of John Hall. I like the momentum he's got. I like the position he's in. I think that 0-3 wins tonight.
Definitely the top 2 drivers in this series going into the playoffs. Those 2 on the front row now, so it's no surprise to pick them, and I'm sure we'll get showed up by someone else behind them somehow. By the way, quick note, Daniel Day, another playoff driver. I don't know if you mentioned that he had the EOL or Seidenfaden, or the drive-through, but Beckner, Seidenfaden, and Daniel Day all have drive-throughs to start this race. So that makes their lives even harder, because now you're going to have 3 drivers hoping for yellow and racing the heck out of each other to get the lucky dog.
Yeah, and to factor in as well, this is a pretty small racetrack, so you're probably going to go a lap down, I'd imagine, in the process, especially if you're starting a bit further down field, which you would be.
It's not like North Wilkesboro where the pit lane is so short you could stay on the lead lap just barely. This is a long pit lane that you have to deal with. It cuts the track, but still very long. They'll definitely go a lap down, and we'll see how close it is to 2 laps.
So we'll see what the aggression level's like this race. If we go green from flag to flag, 58 minutes. We'll likely see a little longer than that. 0-3 run a new livery here tonight as well, we should point out. John Hall with the kind of inverse Celsius scheme on it this week.
I believe it's a throwback to Miller Racing's first win. We'll see if he can honor them with another victory.
Pace truck's off. Here we go, green flag. We're racing at Iowa in the Area Truck Series. 3rd last race of the season. It's round 2 of the playoffs. Nichols gets a great launch into turn 1. Evans fires in deep on the bottom, trying to pull second away from Hall.
Usually second place gets a better jump than that, but John Hall was not ready to go. Jake Nichols kind of caught him by surprise, and for once, the pole sitter actually clears second place, but Hall's driving hard to get to his right rear.
Up out of turn 4, Hall got there. This is a position you want to be in. If you can hang the outside through 1 and 2, you get that big launch of momentum down the backstretch.
He's going to get it too. I don't think Nichols is pushing it really hard, but he got the lap lead that he wanted. I think he's fine with letting John Hall go for this time being. So John Hall's going to take the lead. He'll probably get that lap lead, and we watch Beckner and Daniel Day, and we will see if they go a lap down. It's actually going to be a little closer than I thought, but they will definitely go one down.
Yeah, here comes the leaders. It is a little closer. They are going to go a lap down and get buried in traffic here.
And they're going to have to fight each other hard for those positions.
And look at this mess that this is going to create. And they got to start searching for grip, searching for speed. Oof, this is wild. 3 wide down here in turns 1 and 2. Look at the 61 middle of all that.
Really tight action right now. Beckner, the day's trying to get around all this, but it's really tough for him right now, and he just needs to settle in and hope you can at least get a good pocket of clean air. And maybe tires technically are going to be a little fresher, so they're probably going to try to do something with those little fresher tires as well. But right now, Daniel Day's in a bad spot because Beckner is away.
Up out of turn 2, a little tight there between the 81 of Brad Slaughter. He got a nice launch, but has nowhere to go with it, so he's going to go back to the high side.
Usually on the short run, the high side's not going to be as great, but as the run goes a little bit longer, it'll probably be better for those runs when drivers are struggling to get off the bottom of turn number 4. That's where we saw a lot of trouble earlier in this race. And he's trying to kind of split the middle, trying to see what Patrick Moose is going to do. Moose is trying to find a lane of his own right now. As it runs, he's actually in a good spot, 1 point above the cut line. That's with Schaefer way down the order. Schaefer came into the night seated pretty well, but we talked about it. Slaughter almost squeezed to the outside of Patrick Moose. Reese Schaefer, 8 top 10s, but no top 5s, and right now, it's not even in the top 15.
Bryce Senesac looking up the racetrack here. Always gives us a look on board, which we're always thankful for. Here it is at the moment. See, rockets up to 14th place. Started 18th, up 4 or 5 spots here in the opening going. Clicking away laps nicely, and John Hall still leads by half a second. Connor, last night you fired off pretty quick and drove away from the field. Why?
Just felt like it. There was no other reason to it. I didn't feel like saving. We all knew going into that it was going to be a hard saving race with the way the rear tires just completely died. My right rear was at like 70% at that point, and you could see it as I fell back. But it actually lasted longer than I thought I would. I committed to the 2-stop. You can't really do that tonight because I don't think the 2-stop's going to be viable. As here comes a big crossover from Jonathan Evans looking for a second on Jake Nichols, but it was a completely different car, completely different setup, completely different feel. I don't think you'll see anyone really do anything quite like that tonight.
Five of Garrett Grant on the bottom, up 2 spots here underneath the 89 and the 61. Whoop.
That is Grant having an issue, and he is back in the 10th position. He came out, he's still right behind Pappy, so I'm sure that was not good for the 89 to see that, as Weishardt's looking for a 4th place position. He's going to go around the outside of Mason Kane. Already seeing all these drivers using the high line to make passes and not really testing, trying to get to the inside of someone to make a pass.
Into turn 3. Look at the 33 up the hill now. He's not in the playoffs anymore. He's got nothing to worry about except getting a race win. And he's going to drive up alongside Nichols and take that spot away.
And really no fight. I'm thinking the 73 is just trying to save his stuff, but you don't want to give up too much track position doing this. He's already put 2 more trucks in between him and John Hall. John Hall knows how to save tires and go fast as well, so it's not like Nichols is getting some huge advantage over the 03, at least as far as I know. We'll wait and see, but you don't want to get too far away from John Hall.
Eric Wineland's right in the center of this little scrum here. Little slide from the 50 of Lakatos out of 4. Drives in hard. Ricky Springer's up there 3 wide.
And Springer's going to make sure he gives room. Like I said, I think it's too bumpy to make the way high line work in 1 and 2, but you can see the run Springer did get off the top. Problem is in 3 and 4 when he tries it, Danny Ware's kind of protecting a little bit, not letting the 51 really get overlap to the right rear of himself. So Springer just kind of got to sit and wait for the time being as Wineland still battles a 09 and David Weishart is on a tear. He's all the way back up the second. Up the second, I should say.
As the 33 drives off into turn 3 and continues to move forward. Evans back to 3rd now. Matthew Batby and Garrett Grant have traded places on the racetrack. The 5 goes to the top.
Ooh, I think Ware got a bump from Springer. I think Springer's tired of waiting, and the 98 just shoved him into turn number 1, but it didn't work out for the 51. I don't think that was intentional. It was probably miscommunication, but aggression showing early either way.
Yeah, well, I mean, it's a little early for frustration, it feels like.
See how early it is for a lead change. David Weishart last time by was 2 full tenths faster than John Hall. He's already pretty much there as Daniel Day's trying to chase down Beckner for the lucky dog. David Weishart's going to be hunting for the lead in a little bit.
Yeah, he's very quickly run down John Hall here, and this is, again, the question I posed earlier is why run up here so quick? John Hall got the lead early. No reason to sit around, you're right, but also this race is proving to go a little more green than perhaps we thought early on, so could we see a long run here, maybe just a 1 pit stop race? And then in that case, you might have wanted to have saved tires a little more.
I think you do have to save tires. I still think it's going to be a 1-stop, but it's just hard to know what's going to happen. Obviously, the smaller truck count, I think, is going to play a little bit of a factor here as Eric Grant and Patrick Moose are rubbing doors. Oh, Grant's into a wall. Patrick Moose, playoff driver, crashed hard into the outside wall, and the caution is out.
That is big news. And he's got a lot of damage.
He was tracking in the cut line too as he was running. I saw them get together on the entry, and then they just didn't get off each other.
No, it looked like he was kind of crowding the 5 a little. And that is going to bite him. I mean, they went off in there pretty close door to door, and he crowded the 5, in my opinion, and just walked himself up into the hill. And he might have felt like the 5 ran him up there, but I don't know that that's what I saw, but it's going to hurt him in a big way.
And it's going to put him basically must win for next week, and that's not what he could afford to do coming into tonight below the cut line. I think he pinched hard, thinking Grant was going to make it to the yellow line, and the 5 didn't really get all the way down there. And then once they were fully hooked on each other, it was over from there. But first big playoff driver to be taken pretty much out of this race. Last night it was Peyton Howell. Tonight it's Patrick Moose, and this will bring almost everyone to pit lane, but not everyone. So it looks like Ricky Springer might be the only driver staying out. Travis Beckner gets the lucky dog. Daniel Day will take the wave, and Chris Seidenfaden will probably be trapped a lap down by Springer.
So we'll see how this pans out. I mean, I guess this is sort of what these other drivers wanted, the ones that had to serve the EOLs, just get sort of a yellow early enough that you can still salvage your night. But this didn't work out amazing for all of them because they didn't all get a chance to get back on the lead lap and get tires. But they can hope for another quick yellow and get back on sequence.
Yeah, that's what Daniel Day's going to have to do because he's going to have to take the wave around and kind of mess around on older tires, and he's not going to be able to have the same pace as everyone else. As Case Lakatos got a speeding penalty, as did Jonathan Evans, who was in the top 3, so that's pretty key for the 9 truck.
So first yell of the night at lap number 18. We're going to restart just prior to lap 25. And pretty good opening run to start things off here. I think Patrick Moose's night, if it's not, I mean, he's got to get back on the racetrack, right? If he can get that thing repaired, it's really going to, anything that he can salvage from other incidents tonight later to other drivers is going to help him going into Kansas. Otherwise, he'll have to go to Kansas and have to win. And you don't want to get yourself backed into a corner in the first round of the playoffs.
No, if anyone, I mean, it doesn't even matter if anyone goes out of the race between now and when his truck's repaired. He has to get back out there, just make any laps he possibly can, just to try to hope he gets at least something out of tonight. I mean, it was looking good. Now he's bottom of the seating as it stands, so he's going to have to hope someone else goes out of this race. But even Garrett Grant did really not get that much damage out of that. Moose just pretty much got pinched into a wall. Whether it was his fault or not, he got the worst of it. Grant's still able to continue. We're down to 24 trucks running. And we are on, I believe, 2 to go, as it will be Springer staying out.
Well, this early in the race in his position, I can't fault him. I think he's going to drop like a stone, but I mean, ideally you go 10, 15 laps, you fall through the field, you get a caution flag, everyone comes back in. I don't think you're going to worry about running out of tires tonight necessarily. I guess you could get yourself in that scenario if you were to get cautions every 20 or 30 laps, but we'll see. It doesn't seem like the trucks are as on edge as we've seen in recent weeks, so I think it'll keep things a little greener tonight as the lights will shut off on the pace truck this time through.
You know, Bay, playoff driver, gets his wave around. He'll have to really manage his tires because he's not going to be able to get a tire change until we get another yellow. And Grace Seidenfaden got trapped the lap down, so he decided to take his tires and he'll be in line for the lucky dog. But really, Ricky Springer is the guy to watch here because he's on an island completely on his own, completely deserted, no food or water, and definitely no tires. So this is going to be interesting to see for a driver who usually is a short run guy and falls off long run. We'll see how this fares for him.
Doubling up for the restart, and the pace truck will peel off this time through. And here we go, restart lap 24. Ricky Springer on the outside is your leader. He fires off. Actually got a pretty good restart, but how long will it last on 24-lap-old tires?
I don't know if he'll be able to really defend John Hall anyways. Hall gets a good run to the bottom of turn 2. Springer gets a little bit of a run off of the top side, but I don't think he'll be able to hold the outside.
Oh boy, 3, 4
man, they're
wide.
bouncing off each other.
Nearly 4. The 90 of Devin Johnson had nowhere to go. Now they're 3 with the 87 of Brown in the middle.
I think that was Shear and Brown who had contact. Well, Springer did hang on the outside of John Hall, and he is continuing to hang out there. It's actually better than I thought it would fare. How much time does John Hall want to take with this battle is the question. I think he's going to fire it in hard here. He's still not able to clear him.
Up the racetrack, they're really close to the wall out of 4. He is clinging, and every driver is taking note of this right now, that he has not dropped like a stone. You have to get a good restart and be quick to maintain this. But if it's lap 145 and you don't know whether to pit or not, this just made your quest maybe a little easier later.
Yeah, definitely, I think would make it a lot easier. While they had contact between the 88 and 61. I'm not sure what that was about, but no one spun, so we keep it green. But as Springer lost his track position, and now he's really starting to fade at this point.
Now you take note, how long was that? 3 laps. So you get 3 laps of somewhat usable 25-lap-old tires. Now would be a cork in the bottle here. He's trying to get back underneath and bother the one of Seth Knoll, but that won't happen.
Yep, he's going to be another one trying to run that bottom at this point, but Knoll's just going to pinch him down. That's the thing about trying to make passes work on the bottom. Unless you're pushing really hard and the driver on the outside is going to give it to you, it's a tough pass down there because the driver on your outside can just hang on your door, pinch you down, and you can't get any run out of these corners at Iowa because of that. But saying that, even when they don't pinch you in 3 and 4, they'll just get that run off the top, and they almost made contact, 2 teammates, but you just get that run off the top, and it's hard to fight that on the bottom line, as Knoll got really aggressive there to get in front of a 73.
Tight quarters there on the outside entering 3. Everyone trying to file in. They're 3 abreast with Reese Schaefer in the middle. How much do you want to be in that scenario? P15 and 3 wide.
Oh, and Jonathan Evans got way sideways on the inside of Schaefer there, who pretty much backed out of a 3 wide. Maybe not by choice, but just not having the speed to get out of the corner. As now he's at least up to the 14th position. This might be the highest he's ran in the short amount of time we've had at this point. Same thing for Edward Shear, who's up to about the 16th position. And Beckner with that lucky dog up to 17th and climbing.
John Hall and Weishart for the lead.
This is what Weishart was trying to do at the end of that quick 20-lap run we had, just chase him down and get by him, and then maybe sit there and save a little bit more after getting this pass for the lead done. But I don't think John Hall's letting him get it that easily. He's pushing a little harder just to keep the 33 in that dirty air, and you can tell because they're a second out from the one of Seth Knoll.
Weishaupt running this middle groove in 1 and 2. Hasn't committed all the way to the high side or the low side. Finding some speed though, and last couple of times he's been, actually he was a little slower than Hall. The previous lap, Hall goes up the hill to try to protect and Weishaupt to the bottom.
Yeah, every lane that the 0-3 takes away, Weishart's just going to try to do the opposite. That's all he really can do, and you can see that right now. Hall commits to the bottom. Weishart's going to take that middle, but at least in 1 and 2, Hall is fine with giving him the middle because right there, he gets all the way back up to the top. He is not giving Weishaupt the right recorder panel by any means. He's going to give him the bottom. Weishart's going to dive hard down there, trying to get some sort of overlap, but not quite able to clear him. It's sideways off the corner.
Don't want to burn up your tires too much in this fight either. Wide again into 1. There's the 9 of Evans trying to recover from that pit road speeding penalty. 51's the car on the outside. Still been impressed with those 25 lap old tires that he hasn't dropped to the tail of the field. We've seen moments where you just drop immediately.
It's pretty close to the back of this line, but not there quite yet, as Bappy and Nichols almost had it coming together there, as Schaefer's still trying to find speed in that 0-7, as Weishaupt obviously has the speed in a 33. Can he get the right rear? Not quite. The battle's heating up still. There's 3 wide at the back, and the battle for third's close too. Mason Kane's chase Seth Knoll down. This
is kind of the one that I'm watching as maybe the area of volatility right now with that truck on older tires in the 51, the 17 of Ed Sherritt Jr., the 07 of Reese Schaefer. Playoff competitors in this mix. And I don't like to be at the eye of the storm because you know the other half is coming.
Yeah, this is not as bad as it can get for the 51. If we get an incredibly longer run than 20 laps, it's going to get worse. So he's really got to kind of pick and choose his battles. He's giving everyone the bottom line, but he's not necessarily letting everyone go. This is going to go 3 wide again with Beckner in the mix there as well. Got really sideways off the corner, but he's at least staying up there and able to hold it up there as Weishaupt once again tried the bottom on John Hall and just cannot make this pass.
Trying everything he can. They front 2 have checked out, though, haven't they?
Yeah, that's the thing. I think Hall was pushing his stuff harder to stay in front of Weishaupt, and that could end up being Seth Knoll's advantage if that ends up hurting John Hall's tires. But at this point, I think he could probably cruise a little bit more. Weishaupt looks to be fading a little bit. That might have been all he had, but we'll see if he can get back up there. Balliet trying to get a good finish to end this season with 3 races to go. He's into the top 10 past Slaughter. Right now, Beckner just keeps getting positions. He's 4 back live right now, and that's with Reese Schaefer just not running that good. So if he just can get into the top 10 where Beckner usually runs, he should be in a pretty decent point spot. As I said, he was fading. Weishart's back up there.
Yeah, big launch out of 4. You see the momentum he built, but you can't do much with it here in turn 1 because you're already turning in, so you can't just like fire it off in there like you can in Atlanta or something where you enter so straight. But he is keeping John Hall on his toes here. 90 laps to go, about 45 minutes worth of racing.
It's just that quick at a track like this. So you feel like you have a lot of time because it says 110 to go, but you'll look a little bit later and you'll be down to 65 to go.
I don't know if I'm dyslexic tonight or what's going on. I'm struggling with my numbers, dude.
Well, I blame, Bappy and the 89-98, there's 2 89s. That doesn't help either.
Yeah.
At least there is 1-7 tonight. Well, usually it's just Scioli, but this season it's been Balliet, and he's having a good run tonight. Danny Ware's also up to 9th, so he's having a solid run right now so far, as Weishart's still trying that high line. It's just not enough to really do right now.
Brandon Bowie in the 54. I haven't talked a lot about him other than mentioning he was here, up to now 8th place after starting 16th.
He's had a pretty solid run. Like I said, he's had, in his 4 starts prior, he had good runs, but he only had the one top 10 to show for it, so he's at least going to try to get a second one out of this season, as he was able to pass Balliet and Danny Ware, but those two kind of look a little faster. At least the 7 might be a little bit faster than the 54 at this point. You're starting to see majority of drivers actually running that higher line in 3 and 4. More drivers up there than not.
This battle's been fun to watch, hasn't it? Here's Mason Kane and Jake Nichols. We haven't seen a lot of the 73 tonight, though, since the start. He's just dropped back.
I don't think he's really been wanting to push his stuff. He got that lap led, then kind of just let John Hall go, and he's just kind of sat back there, and now he's at a race low 6th position. He's let Mason Kane by, he's let Matthew Bappy by. He's at least stayed there. If we get a long run, we'll see if that pays off for him. It's kind of what he did last night, but it's a completely different animal, so I don't know if that same strategy will work, but Jake Nichols, it's better not to question him, as those top 2 are still a second away from Seth Knoll. This 3rd on back, I've not been able to catch these 2 quite yet.
Joshua Balliet in the number 7. 22nd to 10th. How about the climb for him so far today?
Been pretty solid right now, making it work on the bottom. He's one of the few drivers left running that bottom line in 3 and 4. 3 others up there, including the race leader. He's been trying to work over Danny Ware, but he just cannot get this pass done.
What does our pitting prospect look like? 28 laps in, 102 to go. So where are you thinking about making this pit stop? You're going to try to get to like lap 80 or something and then make your stop? Make it still try to shoot for that halfway mark roughly?
If you want to split these runs up evenly, you get the 85 at this point. We could see drivers short pit a little bit, but put yourself in that danger spot. If you short pit, you leave yourself vulnerable to a yellow and being trapped a lap down or even 2 laps down. So we might see drivers even go longer than that, maybe to around lap 90 to 100, something like that.
Weishart got the thing loose on the bottom. He charged in there pretty hard. He's still pushing, I think, to get this spot back from John Hall.
While these 2 kind of push, we are finally starting to see that gap to 3rd come down. Seth Knoll is now within about 0.6 of a second, 7/8 of a second.
Tight off of turn 2 here, the 98 and the 7. These guys have been working at this for a while now.
Anywhere's just not giving up, and I'm sure Balliet's livid just because it's probably using his own tires up, and he probably thinks it's a waste of time, but every position matters no matter what. And Ware's making the high line work pretty well, but I think Balliet is faster, but oh, as Ware got a big slide out of the rear tires off the corner, but even still he got a better run off than Balliet. So it's just, that shows how tough it is to make that pass complete around the bottom of the racetrack. I think that slide from Ware is going to end up costing him.
Ooh, there it is.
Finally, he's got him.
Secondary slide. Here comes the 1 to Seth Knoll. He's caught Weishart now. He was closing, and then he was just there all of a sudden, and that was because there was a 1/10 of a second off for Weishart that time to lost him a big chunk.
Yeah, I really think those top 2 really pushed each other a little bit too hard, and Seth Knoll might take advantage of it. Matthew Bappy's also doing the same thing. Both the 1 and the 89 pretty fast right now at this point, as the 1's going to go to the high side, look for a clean air on the nose. 33 didn't really fully commit, and you can see that it's because he's sideways and struggling with the rear tires now, and Knoll has all the speed in the world at this point, and I'm not sure if the 33 will fight it.
Knoll carved that corner entry to the bottom pretty effectively. Weishart will try to poke his nose back to the bottom, but not much to do about it. Jonathan Evans, remember his pit road speeding penalty, back up to 12th place, but his progress is sort of stalled behind Ware and Brad Slaughter Jr. He's trying to work over the 89 now, and then there's Travis Beckner recovering from the drive-through penalty he had earlier, up to 13th place, and still not a super ideal night for points, but get up into the top 10, and notice how few, less than half of our playoff competitors are there.
Yeah, it's the crazy thing right now. Obviously, you don't have that many playoff drivers anymore, but they have only 3 of them in the top 10. Just in the top 5, yes, but only 3 in the top 10 is pretty insane. Plus, you got two of them in the bottom 4 right now, with Daniel Day with right rear damage struggling, so he has no speed either. So with the way it's looking, at least right now, top 10 is not looking so bad.
And here comes Batby in the 89 for third on Weishart. That 33 looks like he's beginning to fade at this stage. And then Jake Nichols has been running the second fastest laps of the top 10 as of late, so he's starting to turn up the heat a little.
Now Hall's not falling off as much as I thought he would, so even with pushing hard, he was able to manage his tires pretty well as David Weishart peels off the pit lane. And Slaughter's coming in as well. This is probably a two-stop strategy, which I just don't think is going to work, but usually Slaughter and Weishart, they are the ones to go off strategy. So this is not really surprising to see these two trying this.
Danny Ware and Evans. Evans is going to, I think, complete this pass unless Ware can throttle up on the outside, and he cannot. And here's that 28 up to 11th place now. Ooh, a little wiggle there for the 98.
Definitely got sideways there. He is trying to hold on. I think he was pushing himself too hard, just trying to stay in front of the 7. So I think he's starting to pay the price for that as well.
Brandon Bowie in the 54 up to 7th tonight. Eric Wineland into 6th. This is a nice run for Wineland at the moment. Had a couple flashes throughout the season of some really strong runs, tonight included.
And no different tonight. He has been really much faster this season, I think, than last season. But I just don't think he's gotten the finishes he probably deserves this season. And I think he got a lot more finishes that he would have been happy with last season. So that's kind of how racing can go sometimes. And he's still having a solid run now up to 6th, with the 33 and 81 peeling off for a two-stop strategy, as the 73, like we kind of figured would happen, starting to get closer to the front. He's going to pass Matthew Batby in a few moments' time if Batby can't help it. Seth Knowles left this battle, but he's still stuck about half a second behind John Hall.
Nichols to the bottom of Matthew Batby in that 73. Nichols started first, dropped as low as 6th. He's worked his way back to 4th and only led 1 lap this race so far on the opening lap. Then Hall was able to power back around him and has led most of the laps since. Now, John Hall comes into this weekend with 2 wins, 2 Jake Nichols 2 wins. It's been a pretty even split across the field. Jonathan Evans gotten 2, Urashak, Batby, Seth Knoll, Patrick Moose, Matheson, and a handful of others have gotten 1, including Urashak. So it's been a pretty even win spread, with the exception of Sebastian Marin, who won 5, but has since kind of dropped out of the fray here.
Yeah, we kind of spent all regular season thinking Sebastian Marin was going to be the guy, but then pro racing gets in the way of things sometimes for some drivers, and that's why he's not in the playoffs. But he definitely kind of dominated the regular season, but all bets are off when it comes to the playoffs. Really anything goes, and you've seen new drivers like Patrick Moose rise to the occasion with that win at Michigan 2 weeks ago. Obviously it hasn't gone well for him tonight, but he at least was able to do it last round. He could do it again. We just never quite know. Was starting to look at Travis Beckner make his way up into the top 10. As a matter of fact, he did make his way up to 10th, as Jonathan Evans has made his way up to the 8th position, just past Brandon Bowie, as Balliet is charging through this field as well, trying to get Eric Wineland.
Yeah, he's moving up to the outside too to try to hang on that quarter panel. That's sort of the key to success there, is if you can get to the outside quarter panel and stay there, then you can just easily overpower on the momentum around the outside. It looks like, he's in the fence.
Oh, man.
But he kept his foot in it, and he should have this spot.
That was really tight. He used all the room he had. I think he used the wall to actually get the truck nose pointed, and it worked. I don't know if he's going to be able to fend off another challenge, but we'll see if he can. Edward Shears finding some speed. He's up into the 12th position. Danny Ware is starting to fade. Oh, Wineland, big slide off of 4. I don't know how he saved that, but that was incredible. Balliet gets the spot. Watch this. I think he tries a crossover, and it just does not stick.
Oh, he was already loose, and he kind of had it under control, and it just stepped away from him at the last second and got a little out of hand, but he drove into that slide.
I think he got caught between staying to the outside of Balliet and crossing him over, because Balliet kind of didn't fully commit to the slide job either, so it ends up costing him 2 positions, because now Jonathan Evans is up to that 7th position.
'88 of Anna Sogak just clinging to the quarter panel of Jeremy Brown back there too. Patrick Moose, by the way, I mean, we talked about this a little earlier, but he never rejoined the racetrack. He is out, and there's nothing for him to gain. And honestly, had he come back onto the racetrack, Connor, it wouldn't have looked great because we have so many trucks still running, only 4 trucks 1 lap down. Everyone else still on the lead lap and fighting.
Yeah, and 2 of those drivers that are a lap down already made a pit stop. As a matter of fact, I think Ricky Springer did as well, so make that 3 of the 4 drivers a lap down, making a pit stop under green. So even that, Seidenfaden was the only one a lap down, and that was because of a drive-through. So yeah, it probably wouldn't have mattered, but you never know what can happen. But I think either way, he was going to walk into a must-win situation next week in Kansas.
Closing in on the halfway point of this race. Don Hall still leads by a fairly commanding margin now over Seth Nolan. He's running quicker than everybody behind him. That's impressive that he's this deep into a run and still running faster laps.
Yeah, he was able to withstand the 33's pressure, and he's pretty much just able to have decent long run pace anyway. So clean air pretty important in that aspect, and he's just fast enough to be able to make it work regardless of if he pushes or not. Seth Noel got as close as 0.4 of a second within his lead, and he's kind of been pushed back away ever since. Also, Daniel Day, he made a pit stop, so he's now 2 laps down. So see him kind of come through the field and get back to 1 down in a few laps' time. But Travis Beckner continuing his charge up to the front.
He's the 81. He's a lap down there, but on fresher tires. A couple trucks have come to pit lane. Weishart, Slaughter, Daniel Day just now. They have put themselves on an alternate strategy here, or at least they're the first ones to break of the remaining strategies here. So lap 75 next time by is halfway. So if you're just going to split the race evenly in half, you're just going to pit starting next time around, although with a couple laps on the tires, a couple fewer laps on the tires than 75, you could probably go a little longer if you wanted to.
I think we'll see drivers go 10, 20 laps longer. You'll definitely see some drivers try to stretch the fuel all the way, not to the end, but just maybe hoping for a yellow, but probably won't see too much variation at this point. You got your 3 or 4 drivers having to do 1 extra stop like the 33 and 81, as Beckner, I think, got very aggressive getting in front of Eric Weiland to get that 8th position.
Well, as we make our way to halfway, we'll take this moment to thank our replay sponsors, giving us some looks at the incident so far. That's Hendry County Motorsports Park. Racing is back at the Hendry County Motorsports Park. Join us on November 9th to see Crusoe Late Models, UMP Open Wheel Modified, Street Stocks, and more. Tickets are $15 for adults with discounted prices for seniors and teens, and kids ages 5 and under are free. Come see racing at the southernmost dirt track in America, located in Clewiston, Florida, off US Highway 27. Visit henryracing.com for more information. More green running than I thought we would see tonight, Connor, so that's going to set this up for a long run to the end, I think, unless we have any dramas in the field. So start planning your pit stop now, I think. I mean, part of you would want to wait for a yellow flag, but you might not get it, so I wouldn't wait past the optimal window for your strategy.
Yeah, at least if you're in the top 5 or 10, you are probably only going to go 1 lap down, so wave around wouldn't be the worst thing in the world. But if you're someone like Danny Ware, Casey Lakatos, guys maybe 10 seconds back of the race leader, it would be risk versus reward. Reward, as I say that, never mind the guys at the back. Seth Noel from 2nd hits lap number 80. This is a little earlier than I was anticipating.
Yeah, 70 laps to go. So a little bit past halfway, but put new tires on, you feel like Superman, so you're going to want that sooner than later. Here's Mason Kane, Joshua Balliet, 4th and 5th. And Matthew Batby is going to peel off. John Hall peels off from the lead, and here comes Kane. So floodgates have opened for those on pit road.
Yeah, definitely a little surprised. I thought we'd see drivers go a little bit longer because of that yellow we had on lap 20, but this is really only 5 laps past halfway as Devin Johnson also gets in the pit lane. And one thing we didn't really note enough, this is a very tough pit lane to get into. The banking transition is tough, and it is a sharp left turn to get into pit road. So a little surprised to see these drivers get in early. Here comes more drivers. Schaefer stays out. I think that was Beckner who just pit there, so he's going to get a jump on some of his other playoff drivers around him to get the pit lane. Jake Nichols is going to stay out even longer.
See if he comes, and I think this isn't the right strategy for Nichols. He hasn't really had a lot of pace on the front runners here, so why not stay out a little longer and try to build yourself some overlap in the tire strategy that will benefit you at the end. If this race is going green, these laps are taking a little longer than you anticipate, so there's kind of a lot of laps left, and there's kind of a lot of time left relatively, so you've got time to use those newer tires at the end of the race, which I think might be a good call.
We've seen this work in races past, maybe not at this specific track, but this is a I would say this is a strategy that can work. The overcut has been very dangerous at so many tracks in the Truck Series. Nichols, I think, knows that, and he's going to try to use it to his advantage if it goes green long enough for it to end up being an advantage. He's not the only one on this strategy. So he's still got about the top 9 drivers still yet to hit at all.
A couple others peel off.
Oh.
Reese Schaefer was one of them. Looks like Ed Shearer Jr., Danny Ware have peeled off.
David Weishardt's up to 10th. He would cycle out to be the race leader, but I believe he's trying one extra stop. So, oh, someone's sliding. Oh, that's
51.
Ricky Springer.
And he just alt F4 to get out of the fray, which a couple laps down. Can't really blame him for that, but okay, carry on.
Yeah, that was we've seen a bunch of slides out of 4. That one finally went fully around, and like you said, he alt F4, just got out of the way, did not want to risk bringing out any sort of yellow, so he'll finish probably in a 24th position. Patrick Moose will not get on track to get that point, but like we said, that point probably would make that big of a difference anyways. He is basically must win, as we're now waiting on about the top 8 drivers to come down to pit. Jake Nichols, the only driver staying out, trying to get this overcut strategy going. And, you know, he came into this week with a 30-point buffer, so it's not really that big of a risk for him.
Yeah, he doesn't need to play it safe necessarily, but I do think that this is giving him the best shot to win this race. Otherwise, he could have just easily collected 4th or 5th place points. But that's not really the Jake Nichols strategy, is it?
Definitely not. He's going to try to get everything he can. And like you said, he's not fully locked in, but he's not in a situation where he needs to play it safe. He can be pretty aggressive with the strategy he wants. And speaking of aggressive with the strategy, Sentinel undercut John Hall, and it ended up working. It got him track position over the 0-3, but now it's going to be a struggle to keep it.
See what John Hall's got for the 1. Big bounce there for the 1. Up the hill he goes. And he undercut him by 1 lap, and that was enough. So imagine, you know, how far down the order Jake Nichols is going to be. But the tire difference is going to be, at the end of the race, over a second worth of time, so per lap.
Yeah, I'm honestly surprised. That's usually not how John Hall does things. If he gets undercut, usually he just goes longer and gets a bigger tire advantage. He just pretty much reacted to the 1 truck pitting. Whether he knew he was pitting or not, that's pretty much what he did. And it cost him the track position over the 1, and he doesn't even have that big of a tire advantage now at this point, as they're going to have to work around Brad Slaughter for position. But yeah, it's kind of unlike the 0-3.
Yeah, and it's cost him a track position on the racetrack, but at the same time, he's gone toe-to-toe with everyone else so far on pretty equal footing and hasn't lost yet. So he might be comfortable in his long-run pace anyway, even with a lap less tire. Maybe that was a little bold to assume, but I don't know. I think he's a smart guy The one is a pretty big threat, though. I mean, of all the drivers to get a lap undercut on me, I don't think I'd want it to be the one.
Yeah, I don't think so either, because he's going to defend for his life as much as he can. It's going to be a tough pass. It seems like that someone else probably spun out of turn number 4 there. Could not really tell who it was, but definitely saw some tire tracks there out of the corner. Trying to do my investigative efforts. It was actually Eric Wineland, who I think was coming to pit lane, but got punted. So he's going to have to pit this time around. Mason Kane actually got into him. Now Wineland pits with a broken rear end.
Closing in on 50 laps to go, and all of a sudden things are going to start falling into place. And we'll see how the cookie crumbles here with all this strategy.
Yeah, Bowie and Asogak, Jeremy Brown still waiting on them, and they're actually in a battle. The 54 and 88 are for position as Edward Shearer tries to get his lap back before any potential yellow comes out, as we've already had 2 spins without caution under this run. As Travis Beckner's trying to hold on to his position over Joshua Balliet at the same time. Beckner's jumped to the 3rd highest running playoff driver with the way his strategy's played out.
He's salvaged this pretty nicely, I'd say. I mean, this night, obviously, with the drive-through penalty, did not start the way that he was hoping for. But he has driven up pretty nicely. I think a yellow to reset him and kind of get him back in line with the rest of the field as he committed to the exit there across the nose of Balliet. But, yeah, I think that's something to consider.
I think it's definitely something that might end up helping him out big time for sure, but this battle of Balliet's only going to slow him down at this point. And I think we saw Balliet's long run speed was very, very good. I think if he had qualified better, he could be a top 5 threat, and he might be anyways, but these passes are still so hard to make work, and they almost made contact out of 4.
So the 2 leaders have 74 and 77 laps on their tires, respectively. Now, are they just holding out for a yellow at this stage? I mean, is that really the only hope they've got?
I think so. And for Anasoga, oh, Bowie hit it again. He's hit it a few times this run. I think at this point, might as well, if you get that yellow, you get the track position, everyone else would come down to pit. As John Hall gets the right rear of Seth Knoll. I'm kind of shocked Knoll gave him the outside, but this is probably all he needs.
Yeah, and this is kind of what I was mentioning earlier. It's like, just give him the time. He's outrun everybody tonight on equal tires, so 1 lap shouldn't be a huge deal to still outrun them. He's going to pull ahead of the 1 and retakes the lead of those that will cycle to the front. The 1's going to fire down in there. He knows how important it is to get this track position back, but he's not going to get it.
I think he was caught by surprise. I don't think he thought there was any way John Hall was going to get to his right rear off the 2, and he did anyways, and now he's lost control of the race over the 0-3, still waiting for those top 3 to pit, but this is effectively for the lead.
And then the next truck back is Matthew Batby, 3.5 back from Seth Knowles. So it's really going to be these 2, I think, fighting to the end unless there's pretty drastic changes. Jake Nichols popped out 10th. That will cycle to be 7th, but he's already quickly running down Joshua Balliet and others. He should make pretty quick work of these next few trucks.
Yeah, that's Balliet and Beckner. They battled so hard. Nichols has gotten to this battle way faster than I think he would have. So this is going to end up being pretty good for the 73, as he was pretty much running in the 4th position. So if he at least gets back to there, it's a net positive, and obviously, well, not net positive, but I would call it a positive if he can run that much longer and still get to where he was running.
So under 50 laps to go now. And John Hall is just looking to add to the win total at the right time of the season.
Certainly would be, and it's not really surprising to be seeing him do this. He has been, I think, maybe the 2nd or 3rd best truck all season, if you include Marin as the best truck with 5 wins, but you take him out of the equation. At this point, it's pretty much Nichols versus Hall, or at least that's what I've seen in this playoff run. It's been Jake Nichols and John Hall kind of dominating things, with no one else really able to even challenge these 2 legitimately at this point. So at this point, if none of those 2 win it, I'd be shocked, because they've been pretty dominant.
Not even really close in the 2nd stage of this race.
No. So looking at those playoff points, they're obviously going to change more and more. John Hall's going to probably jump up to being locked in once it cycles out, but obviously Nichols and Hall have been pretty good on points all playoff run long. Noel only 4 to the good, Beckner only 3 to the good. They should gain some more positions, but so will Reese Schaefer and Dayshear Moose. It's not looking great for either of them.
Yeah, Patrick Moose is going to go into Kansas in effectively a must-win. And Ed Shearer Jr. is going to have a lot of work to do minimum. Daniel Day also. Seth Knowles staying in touch with John Hall, but given that John's advantage continued to grow at the tail end of the last run, I don't see that changing a whole lot. Now the front 3 leaders that are still out on the racetrack, 85, 86 laps on their tires. When do they break? I mean, are you just going to still hold out and hope for that yellow flag?
I think at this point you're committed. I don't understand why you would go any further than just running the tank completely dry. And at least at this point, they're still actually 1, 2, 3. I think maybe if you don't run out before they get you, then at that point I guess you would pit just right when they pass you. But right now things are looking pretty, looking pretty clean, and they're running out of laps for that yellow to actually benefit them.
Travis Beckner and Balliet going at it back here for P8.
Watching all these other drivers, Jonathan Evans has gotten into the 10th position. Edward Shearer is a little further back than him. He's actually at least climbed his way up into the 11th position. And Reese Schaefer, it's not really been that good of a run for him. And the more positions Beckner puts between himself, the more positions Schaefer has between Beckner and himself, the worse it's going to look next week for the cut line battle for the 07. As Brendan Bowie finally pits from 3rd, Anna Sogak and Jeremy Brown are going to stick it out maybe a little bit longer.
Hi, my cat just joined me up on the table here. Hi, buddy.
We got word, by the way, the reason Daniel Day has right rear damage is because of Justin Anna Sogak, and they might have had intentional contact a little earlier in this race. They have actually found each other again. So I think that's another reason why Jeremy Brown's staying out. Anna Sogak's obviously doing a strategy too. I don't think Daniel Day's very happy with the 88.
Mason Kane, Ed Shearer Jr. This is a little scrap here for P10.
Kane kind of went a little longer himself, but it's not really working, not yet at least, not quite working the same way that it was earlier for him. I'm honestly surprised the 88 and 87 have been able to go this long. They pit around lap 20 or so. But yeah, I'm kind of shocked the tanks were able to go 90 laps.
Yeah, this was always going to be a one-stop race, I think, but let's see. And Sogak is going to peel off now. He was on lap number 90. Jeremy Brown, actually that's, and Brown's coming too. He was on lap 93. So that will now turn the lead back over to John Hall. He's going to lead now his 75th lap and the bonus point. Seth Knowles 4/10 back now.
Yeah, one thing a little bit surprising, Noel has not let him go that easily.
No.
He's been able to stay in touch with him, but I'm not sure that's going to matter unless Hall makes a mistake. I just don't see Noel being able to make that pass work at this point.
Big lunge there for Jonathan Evans. He really sailed it down there. You see that truck all sorts of sideways in turn one.
And he's been very sideways all night, so that's not very surprising. At least it wasn't to me that he got that sideways.
been really comfortable charging in there on the grip limit, hanging the right side out in the air, using it like a sail to slow the thing down.
He's been doing it pretty much all race, too. Trying to look at any advantage Jake Nichols might have on those top two. Last time by, John Hall ran a 24.712, Seth Knoll a .765, and Jake Nichols did run a .626.
Yeah, but he's still 3.6 back, and the advantage is starting to dwindle. So I don't know that he's really got time or the pace. I think he might have gone a little too long, but I thought that it would work a little better than it has, to be honest.
I think for him, he would probably be just okay with getting this third position for Matthew Batby, because that would be a net gain if he's able to make this work, because he had Pitt from fourth, or Pitt stopped. Pit sequence started when he was running fourth, but I don't know if he has enough of a tire advantage to make this pass on the bottom that easy. You can see Batby still has a pretty decent amount of grip off the corner to just get away from Jake Nichols.
Alliette in the 7, up the racetrack. 98, Danny Ware is a lap down to this. Well, I'm not going to say Jake Nichols' strategy didn't work, because remember, he was fourth when he pit, and he's about to pass Matthew Batby for third.
Man, he is sending it into the corners, though, to use those tires up. Is he going to be able to clear him? Seidenfaden might help him here.
Whoa.
Really tight, and that was a pick play for sure. Oh, he turned Seidenfaden into a wall. Batby did. No caution, but the 45 got moved, and now he's going to spin it out.
And
no caution yet.
Stay green. Pull off the racetrack, and we'll carry on.
I think Batby got a little upset he was being used as a pick, but that's kind of just racing at this point. He did not lift for Seidenfaden, and it almost caused an even bigger incident.
Under 30 laps to go.
Seidenfaden, or not Seidenfaden, Jonathan Evans actually went a little bit longer as well. And now he has fresher tires. Now he's attacking Travis Beckner instead of Joshua Valliette, who's fallen off this battle. And as it runs, Beckner only has a 3-point gap to Reese Schaefer, and he's only one behind Knoll, so he's got to keep every spot he possibly can.
Yeah, again, I would call this a win in the recovery column, though. I mean, it could have been a lot worse tonight.
Oh, yeah. Jeremy Brown's going to try to use his new tires to get whatever spot he can. He's all the way back at 20th, a lap down. He has a ways to get the guys like Brandon Bowie, who's the first driver, or he was the first driver lap down. He actually just unlapped himself on John Hall. It's the only thing that could probably bring Knoll into a fight for the lead is lap traffic, kind of mixing it up, but they're not mixing it up enough.
Three-tenths of a second between the two. And again, for John Hall, this momentum is coming at the right time. We talked about that earlier, but the only finish he's had outside of the top 10 since August 5th was a 12th at Talladega, so I would consider that to be a pretty good run. And recent finishes of 5th and a 4th since the playoffs, or sorry, 5th and a 2nd since the playoffs began. That's how you win a championship. You're not going to win everything, but 5th, 4th, 3rd, 2nds, that will do it for you, provided you can get that into the final round.
Yeah, he's not even have to worry about that. If he can just keep this lead and get the victory, he won't even have to worry about Kansas. He could focus, put all his eggs in one basket and work on Atlanta and at least try to practice there and see what he has for that. So we'll see if he can hold on. Still looking at Jake Nichols' speed. He is still about a 10th faster, but he is definitely going to need more of an advantage than a 10th per lap, coming to 23 laps to go.
Evans and Beckner are still going at it. There have been persistent battles most of the night between pairs of drivers here and there. They have got to be getting sick of each other at this stage with only a couple of only one yellow.
And Beckner's been in all of them pretty much. He's been pressured by Balliet. He's been pressured by the 9. He was in a pretty big battle earlier with another driver that I can't remember, but he's definitely kind of had his hands full with at least one driver at any different time the entire night. So just he wishes he could just get it to the line in 5th without any other issue, but that hasn't been the case. He's had to battle all night long, and this one's going to probably go to the final laps.
"20 laps to go. John Hall leads the way over Seth Knoll here from Iowa. First race of round 2 of the playoffs. We head to Kansas next week to solidify our Final 4.
Yeah, Knoll's just, all he's been able to do is stay within striking distance. I think he's finally starting to fade even harder off the 0-3. It should just be a walk in the park for the rest of the race, barring a caution. Jake Nichols, his advantage is not enough at this point. And really that most aggressive battle is for that 5th position with Evans and Beckner, but even that's starting to kind of spread apart at this point. Get pretty spread out when you only have like 23 trucks on the track. We're actually down to about 21 trucks running. Make that 20, because Seidenfaden's parked it, and Weishart and Slaughter did the same.
Laps clicking away. Another look here at the point standings scenario. Beckner would head into Kansas sweating a little bit, but I think he's probably pretty well suited to do fine there, especially with only 2 drivers that can really wrestle it away. Reese Schaefer would be the closest. And I'd imagine that Beckner versus Schaefer, probably put my money on Travis in general. Schaefer has had a good season, but I think when push comes to shove, that 28 truck is going to be hard to beat.
Well, he's proving it tonight. He's just been able to be one step ahead of Reese Schaefer all night long, and now he has 4 positions in between himself and the 0-7, and he really needed that. Looking at the points, he needed to separate himself from Reese Schaefer, and this is not too surprising, but Schaefer was seated higher, I guess, technically. So this is the day that Beckner needed to have, and now he's still going to have pressure on him, at least if it finishes this way, because we could always get a yellow. If it finishes this way, he's still going to be having a lot of pressure next week, but he'll be the one above the cut line at least, and not the one having to really hustle up to get points on the 0-7, because he already did that at this point tonight.
"15 laps to go, make it 14 now. Casey Lakatos and Justin Sogag. This is a fight for the last driver on the lead lap. This could get a little spicy with the leader right behind him. While we're counting them down here too. Elite Entertainment adds some life to the party this summer, actually really this fall now, with Elite Entertainment located in Boiling Springs, South Carolina. Elite Entertainment provides high-quality band production to entertain at any location, including karaoke, singo, and more. Visit Linktree/Elite Entertainment LLC for all contact information. And check out the High Banks podcast, just 2 blue-collar guys, Nick and Alex, talking about NASCAR and more. They've got episodes with Brad Slaughter and Jacob Bell. Check them out on Spotify. Of course, this playoffs has been spicy so far, almost as spicy as Rick's Hot Sauce. Head over to rickshotsauce.com for some of the best hot sauces made locally in South Florida. Try the Loxahatchee Classic, Golden Garlic, Palm Beach Pineapple, or South Beach Heat. Follow the Rick's Hot Sauce Rookie of the Year battle in the Area Cup Series and see which driver will take home the $100 prize as the highest finishing rookie in the point standings.
Gotta be honest, this is not the race I expected. I thought we'd have more yellows because I just thought these drivers would be a lot more aggressive, but I think the low truck count has really contributed to this race getting pretty spread out in green. I think that's why we're seeing what we're seeing. I mean, the top 10 are separated by 13 seconds from John Hall down to Mason Kane in 10th. And it's even 8.5 seconds back to Beckner, and he's top 5. The pace John Hall and Seth Knoll have been exceptional.
I think what was interesting was that we had that first 20-lap run that we had a pretty green race, and then kind of expect after everyone realizes that it might be tricky to make progress and moves that people would get more aggressive after that lap 20 mark, but they haven't tonight. And once we got spread out the second time for longer and had green flag stops, it was game over. I mean, it was going to be a green race from there.
One thing that's interesting, we saw Jake Nichols go very far on his tires, but he pushed too hard. It's not working because actually John Hall is faster at this point in the run than Jake Nichols. Even Seth Knoll, who undercut the 0-3, is faster than a 73. So it still got him an extra position over Bappy, but as far as going for the win, not going to work out. Jonathan Evans has lost touch with Beckner at this point. He's actually trying to run in those bumps at turn 1. It's not working.
Ed Sherritt Jr. in the 17, Joshua Balliet in the 7. Lunge there into 3 by the 17.
That's another point for Scheer. Not going to matter too much with where he is, but he at least gets a position from his Lucky Ducks teammate. Now Schaefer's going to have to try to do the same to just try to stop the bleeding from Beckner a little bit. Daniel Day is kind of in the boat where he just wants this one to end. It has not been the race he needed either. Had the contact from Anna Sogak early in the run, which is what we didn't catch, which was apparently stemming from Michigan 2 weeks ago, and it has pretty much killed his truck. That's why he runs 17.
Lap still clicking away, and John Hall has just dominated this one. I mean, Seth Knoll had a taste, but he has not been able to follow up much since John Hall got back around him. Kept him close within arm's length, but now he's just clinging to tassels.
Well, Reese Schaefer did get by Balliet for that 8th position, so it at least puts him, for the time being, 1 point closer. It actually makes it pretty close. 28 is only 1 to the good as it runs after that. The Schaefer is also a Lucky Ducks truck.
Four laps to go. Battles are dwindling on the racetrack. Schaefer and Balliet really the last one standing.
It's funny because John Hall has dominated this race, but this is probably the biggest his lead's been all night. And it's about 0.8 of a second. That's as far out as he's gotten all night. And he's led probably close to 100 laps. He is probably not going to face a challenge from not only Seth Knoll, but I don't think Lakatos and Bowie are going to crawl back to him at all.
No, I think he's in pretty good shape now. He can actually back it down a little if he needed to, a couple tenths a lap. 2 laps to go, about 1.5 miles until John Hall will pick up potentially a 3rd win on the season, a 10th top 5, which would match Jake Nichols for most of anybody. And I think this solidifies him clearly as a championship favorite because he would be one of our final 4 drivers. So how could he not be a favorite? White flag, 1 more lap to go from Iowa. John Hall has been dominant tonight. 112 laps led if he can complete this one.
And he has, it's funny, like I said, this is highest total lead, but he has really not had much of a challenge from anyone tonight. This has been a Sunday cruise on a Tuesday night.
Checkered flag, John Hall, 3rd win of the season. He's going to win at Iowa. He is going to the Final 4. He is going to Atlanta, and he can breathe easy next week at Kansas.
Doesn't even have to worry about it. Knoll, Nichols, Bappy, and Beckner will be the top 5. Beckner way far back there. Then Evans, Scherer, Reese Schaefer, Balliet, Mason Kane, the top 10. And that cut line will be pretty interesting going into Kansas for a lot of drivers for sure.
Now look at that, how it shifted. Travis Beckner up by just 1 over Reese Schaefer. That'll be a fight to watch. John Hall will not be involved. He's going straight to Atlanta, and no pressures on the 0-3.
nothing to worry about whatsoever for him. And that's pretty much how he drew it up. And I'm sure he's not very surprised either. He is a driver that makes sure he is always prepared for these races, and it shows on his on-track product.
Well, he's done it. Here's a look at your race results. And a lot of playoff drivers in the top 10, but a couple that did not have the days that they were hoping for, Connor. And one of those was Patrick Moose. He has got to be not stoked, but again, kind of got caught up in a collision that really didn't need to happen, and he will pay the price next week.
Yeah, and even Reese Schaefer probably won't be happy about 8th place just because he lost the battle to Beckner, and now Beckner has the advantage on the cut line going into next week. And really for everyone else below the cut line besides Reese Schaefer, they'll need the win. Shear, Day, Moose, they're all probably too many points back to point in realistically, as Shear finished 7th, but he's still going to find himself back there. But big performance today. Seth Knoll came in below the cut line by 2 points. He's going to exit only 2 above the cut line, but it was a pretty big performance for him.
Looking down the rest of the order here, the rest of the drivers, Daniel Day, 17th. Not the day he was hoping for. Justin Asogat, Grant Lakatos Bowie, top 15. And there's Patrick Moose down there in 25th with a lot left to do.
Yeah, he is going to have his hands. He's going to have to really work next week and get that victory, but he did it at Michigan, so there's no reason he can't do it at Kansas, I would think. So you cannot count him out at all.
Well, let's talk to our top 3. Jake Nichols, P3 tonight, and tried the overcut. Didn't completely work out, but it did gain you a spot, and it's a top 5 for the 609 Chevrolet. Things are looking good for the playoffs, so just collect another top 5 in the bucket and move on to Kansas, yeah?
Yeah, pretty much. If we get a similar field next week as tonight, then I'm pretty sure I'll lock in to the Final Four just by starting. But I should have went fast. I should have went harder the first run. I felt like if it was going to go green in that first stint, we were going to be so much faster than everybody else. We did a really good job of saving and not losing too much time overall, and sadly just got the yellow. And after that, it's just dirty air. You can't really do much without really driving the tires off it. But overall, I mean, good night. Seth got great points there for his bid at the Final Four, and obviously beating everybody else is nice, because the only guy close to me on points was John, and you know, I felt like he was going to make Final Four either way. So to pull away and have a pretty solid gap, we should be safe next week and be able to push it to the limit and hopefully win.
And Jake Nichols, 3rd place tonight in the number 73 truck. Jake, thanks for talking.
Thank you.
Seth Knoll comes home in 2nd place. Almost had it for a little while, but couldn't quite keep up with the 0-3. Take us through your night.
Yeah, one spot better than last night, but honestly disappointed. Just felt like I kind of got stuck right there in like a half second back, and it's just really hard to pass once someone kind of gets control of the top. You can just manage it. And I got control for a little bit, and I think I cooked the right rear a little bit too much, and John did a good job being able to execute those couple laps and got past me, and then it was right back to where we were before the pit stop. But all in all, good night for the Matt Liveries Swim Night in America truck. Hopefully we can run well next week and advance our way to Atlanta.
Seth Knoll, 2nd place tonight at Iowa. Seth, thanks.
I appreciate it, boys.
John Hall wins the race. I picked you. I'm happy I did. And it was not even close. Dominant performance, 112 laps led. John, take us through your night.
I don't know. I did not feel very good in practice, and qualifying did not feel very good at all, but I got a little help there with Travis getting in the EOL and grabbed the lead on that initial start. And I don't know, the track, I don't know if something happened where the track tightened up on exit, and I felt hooked up the whole night. So it was all about just staying out front. Dirty air was pretty bad there. I'm sure you guys saw it there at the end with that getting like within that half a second bubble, and then couldn't really do much. So yeah, it was a lot of fun. I'm happy one of these things went green for a while, and happy to be locked into Atlanta.
Yeah, that really takes the pressure off for next week. John, how confident do you feel in that Atlanta race? Obviously, Kansas is of no concern anymore. You'll still try to win that race, but Atlanta's the big one. How do you feel about it?
I feel great. That place is amazing. We're going to be all over the racetrack. I feel really confident. Having this momentum here at the end of this season here has been incredible, and hope to keep it carrying that way. happy to also get the win for Dawson in his throwback scheme to his first win in Iowa with Ryan Hartz, and this scheme looks friggin' amazing. I circled this one as soon as he said he was going to do the paint scheme, so just happy to drive for him and happy to get him a win with this scheme, especially.
Well, looks great, John. Congratulations. We'll see you at Atlanta as a Championship 4 contender. We'll see you there.
Thanks, guys.
Thank you. All right, Connor, final thoughts on Atlanta. Big, nice, long green race tonight. Only one yellow flag, and we've got a driver locked into the Final Four. That's John Hall. Good race tonight, and we'll see what happens in Kansas next week.
Yeah, a pretty clean race and pretty good race. You saw all lanes working, but at the end of the day, even with the smaller field, it got pretty spread out, and John Hall just had enough pace to be able to withstand the pressure he got from the 1 and from the 33. He made that pass on the 1 to complete the victory, and yeah, like you said, dirty air might have been bad, but he was still able to stay in front of everyone, and no one else was even able to do that. Seth Knoll got the lead with only a lap older tires, and 03 was still able to power around him, so John Hall definitely solidified himself as a championship threat, and now he gets an extra week to prepare for Atlanta instead of having to worry at all about Kansas.
Well, we won't worry about Kansas either. We'll just bring you the coverage for it. We'll see you there next week. And Florida State Builders Area Pro Series kicks off Thursday night right here from Iowa. We'll see you there.